Hello, everyone, and welcome to another World of Sasquatch. This episode is being recorded on 8/21/24. This is an impromptu episode, and I found this very interesting. Not what happened this morning to trigger this. I will list the artist's name in the description below. The one that actually originally designed the original carvings for these guys. This person threw one of the biggest fits that I have ever seen. But I will also officially open this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. Something tried to get me to forget that. So, Joanna,
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, to come in to support this conversation, and so that people can hear and listen to it within peace and within harmony and within the ability to hear what is said and to bring into them what is relevant for their lives. With that as well, we ask for any mischievous or malevolent type beings and or unwanted ghosts at these moments to be ushered out so that this conversation can be had. And with that, and with always the great blessings we send your way, we say, so be it.
so be it. Well, what happened this morning? First thing when I got up, and I knew this individual, was being pointed my way, very much like we had some ghosts show up just before this recording. Somebody doesn't want this conversation being had. There was some came back from a hospital my mother and Laverne are at, and there were various other sources that did this, throwing everything, but including the kitchen sink. So, and this also is retaliation, I think, in part to the episodes we recorded at Spirit Lake. The bad guys just didn't like what was said, and I don't care. It was wonderful. So it was a wonderful experience. So, this particular issue, I woke up this morning after a very ugly set of dreams where I was basically thrown into one battle after another. Somebody summoning my I am presence when they're not supposed to. But aside from that, and he can comment on that too. Wasn't feeling too good last night and now today as well. But I woke up, the very first text I got this morning was from the very artist that created the original carvings for those. And he was pretty pissed that I made it. I mean, over the top. And I mean, there were some things that he wasn't completely wrong on, but at the same time, Fuma told him that this was basically a group effort, that it was basically uh, uh, these form communication edifices so the forest people can communicate with with regular people and have influence around regular people for the better, and basically reestablishing an old alliance where we once had it. It's like basically like Traven and the little dolls that our friend Susan Claudino makes for No Knit Sherlock. Those little knit crocheted dolls. It's the same way, but for the forest people, and they wanted their particular visage because their visage can't be corrupted, so they don't allow it. Like at Spirit Lake, they didn't allow any interlopers in there. So that, which I find very interesting. So they wanted to talk a bit on this. This is a form of butterfly effect when this happened. They did, and they made the point at Spirit Lake, and also Fuma and Seymour and them made this same point, where if you hit an impasse where something isn't being created with a particular thing, or if you're incapable of doing or creating a particular thing, the torch gets passed, and it can seem like theft. It's like, which legally, I suppose, you would view it that way. But it's just like when Tesla had some of his patents, and then Marconi also had the radio patents, and when they also noticed people have duplicate patents pop up, that are for the same thing. It's like, wait a minute, I came up with that idea all on my own. Yeah, where'd you get it from? The benevolent Akashic records and their own oversoul. So this is why I've even seen duplicates of our tower busters out there that use a similar formula. So it's part of that grid. and it's part of that source field. And people, the benevolent source field, and people don't realize it's this butterfly effect that makes these things pop up. It enters the grid and it spreads. So this is a butterfly effect. Not all the thing with the grid or the Kijik grid is true. Some of it is a false incarnation cycle, but there's a natural butterfly effect that takes place. Like you had a book pop up, like what they were mentioning at Spirit Lake, where you were wanting to write a children's book with a dragon in it, and you saw it pop up at a post office years later. So that's what I'm talking about, folks. That you come up with the idea, you better honor that idea and that creative spark and produce it, or it's going to end up somewhere else. I see him nodding, and no insult was ever intended towards the original artist. In fact, I will put every link possible to his site under here. And I'd encourage you to look at his stuff. It's actually pretty cool. But like I also said, and Fuma said, this is bigger than just him. And I would be a little ticked too, but at the same time, it's not the same thing. It's our orgone pieces. Um, you can mold pretty much anything. So Broston is the one that's talking this time. Him. Okay. And I even told the guy I showed him in videos like that as well. He didn't bother me after a while. In fact, I'll share the link with this to him when the time comes when it airs. So yeah. So okay. Uh, so granted, Etsy wouldn't see it my way though; they'd see it probably his way. But I get both sides in this argument though. Okay, we got to make this short, Broston, because of all the distractions that happened today. There were a bunch of ghosts that showed up a little bit ago. So okay, Broston. And some of those ghosts may have made me sick with their empathic transference too. So hey, Broston. Okay, well, hold it, but something interfering. Oh, two. Okay, it just looked weird. Or say any distraction here. Okay. Yes, this is Broston. Yes, there is there has been an extreme amount of interference here. Not all environments were meant completely to be pristine or pristinely mopped up. No insult is taken by this. It is what it is, but know that this was designed as interference and attack primarily. Ghosts can be innocent, but some are not. So, what I wish to say is this: the reason the forest people guided himself and dear Susan to these is because we put that telepathic summons out there. We knew the artist could not do orgone pieces unless he chose to, or didn't know how, or whatever the situation was. We just knew it stopped with the image and not necessarily with other protective measures. Henceforth, the butterfly effect, as you call it, directed this towards yourselves. This happens a lot. Eventually, this type of arguing will cease to be over this. Eventually, this will be nothing but an afterthought in humanity's repertoire. People will understand and not compete with one another. This is a ways off yet, but just know if this happens, just like the mold maker making the molds for these, wonderful. Just like the original artist making these, wonderful. But we had to draw a line. Fuma, when he came in, had to draw a hard line because these were meant for communication, not necessarily the individual's pocketbook. And this may sound harsh because we recognize the need for money. This is not unrecognized. But when an energy flows from one thing to the next or one person to the next, when an urgency comes up to have a thing, it happens regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of how it may seem or the wrong that may seem there. And this may seem harsh in its application of this. And we completely understand this. It may even seem cruel sometimes. Now, this has not been done completely with your guys' stuff, but we understand the opposing stance on this and we sympathize. But this was something that was needed within the community of the Sasquatch forest people that we are, excuse, there is interference. The Sasquatch communities of people that go to conventions and such. These pieces, the way they are, and even tower busters can be made with these. We are completely not opposed to that at all. Excuse the slurring, they hit him pretty hard earlier. So I will just go into questions.
I don't even know where to go with this because again, it's been, I have to laugh a little bit. It has been a little bit of an eventful day, and we're trying to do this, quickly without notice in order to try and dampen some of that extra interference that's been happening. But it's a very interesting problem because I too understand the other side of the creed. I really do.
Oh,
I really do get it. And again, no horrible intention to take away from what he does and what he's made, even though we've used them. We did mold the figure. What's inside of it is totally different. And actually, we just thought it was a beautiful representation, and its function is totally different. So it's a let's just say an interesting dilemma when when you have a picture of something, which again is a common picture. So most people looking at them recognize that it's a Sasquatch because other pictures of Sasquatch are out there, but the internal workings are totally different to it, and its function is totally different. So I hope peace comes about and an understanding can come about, that it's not dishonoring the work, and anyone who's interested in his work, we wish to share, but what we do with it is so completely different, that the innards are not whatever he makes them of. So I don't know what's going to come about this, but no, I can just say that there was zero intention to harm anyone in any way, shape, or form with this.
Yes, we influenced him to create these to begin with. He depicted them from photographs and the like that he got of our people, which was totally understandable. We set the stage for this, but we also set the stage for the next version of it. Yeah, it may not seem like it's the same, especially with like little bubble holes and such in it, and it doesn't always happen to anyone like mine. Mine is barely minimal in that area, but others have more. But in this case, this is something that we sanction happening. This is something that we agreed with happening. It's totally understandable the other side, but spirit does not work in the same way as business, even though the two can function together in a coexistence. There's always going to be that bit of rub in the middle where there is an energetic process that bucks the monetary side just a little bit. Just enough, like exactly in this situation. This is spirit energies doing this. This is something that is a matter of the energetic physics. This is unstoppable. So, with that said, we fully and completely agree with the current usage of it. And will agree to support more. Fuma was just a little miffed that this person had outright assaulted, per his words, you guys. But it's not necessarily an assault, but at the same time, what was working through him to get him to happen to notice right at that exact time, that exact moment in time, that was V2K influence. The Agent Smith effect, you call it. That was that. That's truly what he was more mad about, was the assault of that on us. But the other person also was integrated into this, defending his work. But the forest person imagery is meant for everyone. Now, does that mean someone's intellectual property is meant for all consumption? No. Now, if there's an innovation out there, say he likes to use the Coca-Cola company as a example. where they have a particular machine where it's all digitally based and nobody else has that. He sees that as a humanity innovation and not just a company's. And eventually that will be the case, where you have certain technologies that are not proprietary, like your Stephen Greer says loosely about the alien techs and the illegalness of those non-disclosure agreements. That particular part of the information happens to be very true. It is an illegal clandestine area. In this though, in this area, when you have something that they're trying to keep a tight knit lid on, what happens? The butterfly effect. Someone else will try to innovate it from because the idea has entered the grid. So therefore, someone else will come up with the idea. It'll be on their head. It's just like your Stargate SG-1, where the Ori came to people in dreams and told them how to build their spaceships. It was telepathy. In this case, it was similar. But whereas with these black projects, they know they can't hide forever. But then they try to play damage control by getting rid of people that say try to get free energy in the leg. That said, it's not going to be able to keep a lid. They're not going to be able to keep a lid on it forever. With our image, we want it all over the place as part of a communication and a bridge building between our two peoples. This, I hope, helps the original artist understand the dilemma that we are put in by an argument such as this over our image. I hope he understands this because of I know he's probably going to see this, so I hope you understand this. It was us that influenced your original busts and original clay and wood pieces, and it was us that influenced its basically its torch or its baton being passed as well. This may seem unfair in its applications. Of course, it would be from a business standpoint and from an artist's standpoint. It would be very frustrating, and we would be frustrated in your place. But this is what it is because this particular subject is bigger than all of you.
You know, it's an interesting thing because as you're saying that, I remember this old commercial. It was about a company called 3M. It's like we didn't create it, but we make it better. Where again, part of human ingenuity is taking something that exists and how can
and enhance it and upgrade.
Right. Yeah. I think that is something about humans that may not be shared with about all other races. That idea of growing something and changing it and making it more, which is was the inspiration coming from us. Like I said, the innards of what was made is nothing like the innards of how you made. And again, I can guarantee you there was no insult ever intended. But I have to change the subject a little bit. Because I don't know much more that we can speak about this kind of subject. But I have to tell you that the one thing when Chris and I were at the cabin at Spirit Lake, and we had the opportunity to be there. And again, you know, it was, I have to tell you, I was amazed to be able to sit in a place and not hear the V2K. It actually amazed me because there isn't a lot of technology out there, just FYI. However, I guess I didn't realize how well nature and whatever else you guys are doing there, I think it's a combination of both, can actually not allow that. I was a little bit blown away that it was as good as it
extremely
was.
enforced, yes.
I have to admit that I really was. I didn't expect it to be as nice. Chris and I have spoken about this. You know, we were even speaking about it on the drive home because when you're, let's say, under the pressure cooker all the time, and we've even been saying how the pressure's been being turned up and turned up and turned up. I don't even think that we understood the difference and how much pressure there was until we had the opportunity to be there for a few days to then have a comparison. And so we came out and I'm like, we've been saying it all this time and we believed it. But I guess I can just say for my personal self that, oh yeah, that pressure has been turned up so much
Yes.
that I can certainly understand more how we talk about people are having a hard time coping and
Mhm.
people are having a hard time just processing and understanding. I definitely get it because it is exponentially more than my memories of how it was prior to the illness that went around the world. It really is exponentially more.
Yes, it's because that is the very thing that activated the illness, you see, and it has to in order to maintain the nanotechnology and including the subsequent jabs or jabberwocky, as Chad likes to say. Subsequently, they left it on really high, and this is something that's painful to us as well. So we get why he wears the hat, and we get why why there's sickness, and we get why excuse, we get why there is a big difference. This is also another reason that that's enforced there. You see, it is so peaceful there because of the fact that it is so enforced. Nature is doing it, of course. The trees, the birds, the bugs, the and us. It's all a wavelength and also the ley line intersection. These are things that are adding up, and you feel it. You came home and felt that this there was so much pressure, is because you notice this more. This is why we advise anyone leave your home for several days and then come back. You know, if you do a vacation or something, to a place that is much higher vibratory frequency, or what you say, faster moving instead of a slower moving. You go home, it's going to seem like you're being crushed. This is something you become used to. It's essentially like the frog boiling in the pot. You do it quick, it jumps out, you acclimate really slowly, it dies. This is what they're hoping, you see. This is what the inventors of this god awful tech are hoping, that you're not going to notice this and not shield from it. So we highly recommend pieces. This is also another reason we wanted these, because of the shungite that was put inside as well, and is put inside, excuse me. These are helping not only with communications but with protection. Even at this level with this, the shungite and the metal in there and the stones, it is doing something very much like his pieces like this with the red in them. So that said, it's not a tower buster per se, but in the original format of tower buster, yeah, it was when people made a bunch of them to put around their Wi-Fi. I highly recommend pieces like this. This is why some of your pieces have been ignored, because they're actually enhanced versions of these pieces. It is no different with also with our wanting him to work on the Sasquatch statues this way. It is no different than him making another version of a tower buster that had an upgrade, or taking a glitterite piece that had no function and create one that did, very much like your dream catchers. Basically saying you say they're functional dream catchers. The originals could. It's actually an ancient Mayan invention, a Pleiadian invention, that during their time fighting the Orions, the mental abuse was happening from them too. And who do you think told your government to create such horrible tech? And they created a web to shred those signals. It was a piece of tech that hung over their bed that looked like a what you know as a dream catcher. Your Native American groups saw this and performed what is known as a cargo cult. Whereas, like in the Philippines, where they mimicked the U.S. soldiers with the medals and the rituals and all this, it was very similar. It is also very similar, like your Star Trek Voyager episode where Chakotay and Seven get caught in the preserver or progenitor tech's shield, along with these natives of another alien race that were technologically advanced, and they kept mimicking Seven's eyepiece and everything. It was the same thing. I'm not saying the magical versions don't work. Far from it. But the yours are closer to the original design. This is why in your movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp, where he has the copper pergolas or the copper gazebo, this is why. Brass would work better if you find brass of that quality, but it is the same thing. These are upgrades and continuations on. So, to the artist again, I hope you understand this.
Yes. And I just have to bring up the
And
element.
bringing back what the ancient Mayans had originally in the tech, or Lemurian tech, I should say.
Right. So again, I'm going to change the subject just a little bit more because I don't know how I can even have this conversation without bringing up what I consider to be the elephant in the room, which is the overbearing energies basically that are being sent, to everyone on this earth and
Mm.
humanities. I'm assuming, first off, just real quick, I'm assuming that obviously where we visited isn't the only pocket like that, the forest people have gone to great lengths to create many pockets like that in different places.
One of 100.
Right, to be able to shield themselves and to be.
Even Fuma them have one in Arizona too.
Right. So I would think that, again, if you're lucky enough to find a natural place like that, you definitely will see the difference. But this has been going through my mind, and I'm just going to state what's in my mind, not trying to point fingers or to insult anyone.
Mhm.
But, I've always said this, don't you think, or I shouldn't be putting words in your mouth. My question is, it's kind of feels like to me that there becomes a point in a situation where you feel people can't advance fast enough. So you put into play what you feel is the safest way to move forward.
Yeah.
But with things like this coming down, it is killing people.
Yes,
People,
literally. Yes.
I know, and people cannot function it anymore.
Either by proxy, where someone accosts them or hurts them through the Jaden Smith effect or Mr. Smith effect, you call it,
Right.
being hurt, or by it just microwaving them to death.
Microwaving them to death, setting illnesses that are now coming on quicker.
Yeah.
So
your Jabberwocky is to blame for that, and the virus that we went before.
Right, well. But this was a planned event. So when I look at this and I look at, let's just all sides, you got your nefarious side. It's easy to know what they're up to, but you also have a side that is supposedly benevolent. It boggles my mind the acceptable level of illness and death, that somehow this is even okay with those that have made a choice not to push harder. And I think out of this yield or whatever it is, it just seems now that sometimes people trying to do the right thing end up on the wrong side. I don't know how to say it. They end up then promoting things that they say they don't want to promote, but they're actually participating in the promotion of it. Mm-hmm. So I don't get that. It's something that really bothers me. Again, I'm not trying to put anyone down.
Yes, you call this to the yield to an extent where, as Isaac and them were saying, and we were saying, there's some yield aspects that aren't necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, I completely understand both of your position as being completely anti-yield. We're of the same breath, pretty much. But excuse, they have messed up his chest area here with a viral contagion. This will be cleared up more. But in this this particular way, they have completely ostracized anyone that does not conform to this yield. There are darker aspects of the yield, very much like your Hollywood has your satanic cults, cannibalism, all that other dark crap that goes on if they don't participate in the worship of Satan. But there are other ones that are yield aspects to what some people would consider to be a societal norm, or something that is understandable to people, like our bust. Our people said this to you at Spirit Lake, where they called it a niche market. This is a niche market is where people's understanding is, but yet you incorporate your enhanced ideas within the niche market, or within not the niche market, but within the public's idea of what reality is. Niche market is a narrowed area where you have wonderful things, but it's a niche market that's like this. This is why we offer to help expand with our own visit. We not only get communications out of it, but we also see you making money as a result. So this is why my brethren at Spirit Lake consulted you on this in private. Niche markets, unfortunately, get ignored. They don't understand this. Even within your galactic community, within like some of your galactic channelings and stuff, there are niche markets within that. This is why your Galactic Interstellar Council was largely ignored. because there was a spell put on it by the forebear as well as others from the B2K to get it ignored because there is quality information on there, not only from us, but others. And we fully endorse your work. This is why the lifting has had some ignorances on it. This is why the full breadth of your work has had some shadow banning, even from conspiracy sector to the world of Sasquatch, us to dogmen to cat people. I wouldn't promote them too much. They tend to be bastards. But I'm just saying. Earlier today, Richie and him found out that some of the cat people had turned. This is why there's been so much uh, crap surrounding the Lyran people. And they also figured out, and I can back this up as well, that the ones you thought were hurt at Thumb Butte actually were not. They were actually looking for our people up on Thumb Butte after Fuma showed himself in the picture. You see, this is why you had military in disguise up there with little spraying wands with toxins and neurotoxins, and had big enough trucks to hold one of my people. It wasn't for the Lyrans. The net you discovered, the energetic net you discovered on Thumb Butte, was to look for my people primarily, and other cryptids, of course, but for us. That is what that was about. The Lyrans tried to take the limelight in that. They are not the esoteric bottles of wisdom that people think. Also, their planet of Lyra. Actually, people are, how can I put this? You have the descendant lineages for the most part, but you're also communicating with bits of Lyra or Lyra in the past. But you also know that it was back in the skies and they were looking for technology. That part's true. But you're also communicating with descendant lineages that know nothing about the esoteric wisdom of the past. Things were lost over the centuries. I wanted to put that out there because some of them participate in soul piracy and whatnot. He discovered this back when he discovered a soul trap by the name of Helg, whereas there were two Lyrans running the front desk, we'll just say. Unfortunately, this happens. This happens with a lot of races. And your genome wasn't primarily as what you thought previously, that it was fully Lyran based. They wanted their genome in there, yes, but you're dealing with a bunch of people that came from outside, like ourselves, and like the Untumbans, and all of it from the different races that seeded this world. And after the fall and the reboot, these were it wasn't just Lyran bones that were used. And there was still thriving life on Earth, but it was underground, you see. It wasn't the bones of the dead or a graveyard like some others would have you believe. It was just that they went underground and shielded themselves, and the war continued in different ways. Same thing with your Tuatha De Danann versus the Fomorian wizards, as it were, the whole Lord of the Rings timeline. It's the same thing. All these things continue. These, unfortunately, it has gone into more of secrecy mode in Cloak and Dagger or spy versus spy, and your people have been caught in the middle like then, just like in Lord of the Rings, the Elven races and Sauron battling. That's what he was depicting. He can go into that more if he chooses to. But this goes on and on and on. I know I sidetracked, but these are things that they discovered during their little session there that were pertinent information.
Okay, well, then to side back, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are your thoughts about that? What I was saying about, do people understand that they end up looking like a bad guy as well?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
this is why
humanity is sacrificial here.
Yeah, this is why people need to discern what they're bringing through. You do not know what meat puppeteer is meat puppeting you. You have to not just go along with agendas like you had your QAnon where people were saying, I'm an anon, they did this crap, where they were actually wanting to actually have a more peaceful world. So they were aligning to a cause they didn't understand was still cabal. It goes with these galactic hedge betting groups too. You don't know where the agenda lies. And no, he did not consent through his words of the Anon thing. I was making an example, back up. You see, some of these forces are stupid. You start to align words in, what they think is a consent sentence, and they're retarded. He did not consent. And he says this as well. So goodbye. That's an AI tripwire for certain words, by the way. So in this, to people that are channeling different groups, please, please be aware. Please be aware of what's around you. Like he said to Brian in a private call about Adama from Shasta, people channeling him. He's this hero to humanity. No, 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 no. These are dark, what you would call dark elves, or a tall white variant in there. Yes, I said variant. Where Odin battled with them many, many centuries ago, and also essentially, essentially, descendant lineage from Lemurian royalty. When the what you call the Hawaiians now, the Samoans, uprise against them. They went to the Marquesas. Then the Orion bird cult started there. This was like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, angelic creature with wings, and they saw this as a bird cult, but it was actually a winged, Orion, like angel type. But anyway, I have skewed off again, but I wanted to say some of these groups you're dealing with now. I know you're in awe of their presence because you, as this current incarnation of humanity, have never seen these things before. You've seen them, yes, on Star Trek, which is good at decoding and encoding. You see them on commercials, the same difference, both of the Greys type of thing on your Ancient Aliens and also other races. Like he always cites the Mountain Dew commercial where they're like your bros, they're your friends, that kind of thing. It's a form of decoding and encoding. But I know you're in awe. You want to leave this planet, which is a mistake at the moment. If some uh, person shows up in a spaceship, please have the wherewithal to not get on it. If someone tries to take you, don't think that all of a sudden it's just some miraculous thing, like it's this miracle cause or something. This is a mistake. Missing people show up missing this way, or some of them. Your military does the rest, and some of them are shipped out and don't come back. Some do, but with their heads messed up, or they come back with implants in them. Just like there was a lady he saw in your UFO witness program who had an implant to a Pleiadian group. Those are a bunch of hedge betting assholes. So, or the one in Sedona where the host called out the girl and saying, "How do you know that they have a benevolent agenda?" And she got snippy. It was the race getting snippy because somebody had the wherewithal to call them out. Had the wherewithal to call them out because this is actually becoming more rampant by the day. Just like you said in your talk at the convention. Basically, be careful who you're bringing in. You don't know who these beings are. Don't go after generic channelings like Archangel Michael and Jesus or any of them. Do not go into generics. I say generic, and I do not mean insult to anyone, but non-generic, meaning us. And you may be asking, well, how do we know that you don't have an agenda? And I have to say, yes, we do, but it is one, as we've said before, bridge building and communication. So if any group says they don't have an agenda, oh no, they're lying. Also, if any beings come to you and tell you you don't have to do any of the inner work, we got it, they're full of shit because you have to be that deciding factor. He always cites the woman who invited her ex-husband over because she was a Christian woman and needed to, had to show compassion, but her intuition told her not to do it, and he had to be hauled away by the cops. It's that kind of decision making. You're seeing the aliens you're in awe of, or beings you're in awe of, but you're not discerning because the awe you are within. Back that up to a neutral, calm, state. Back that up and discern what these beings' true purpose is. You will find the beings not unlike yourself, but in some cases, they're pulling a meth lab job or something, very much like some of your criminals, or you have benevolent ones that all they want to do is be around you, with you, hang with you like they're your bros or sisters or cousins or friends, things of that nature. It is up to you to determine what this is.
Well, thank you. Well, we're gonna end up having to cut this off. Is there any final words you have?
Yes, this was pretty much it. We noticed the inordinate amount of compression here today. Be leery of compression. When you feel compression, it is not something compacting your DNA to bring about crystalline DNA, or it's not a point of evolution. They want you to look into this, like my brethren said. They want you to look into. They want you to consent to this so that you consent to more hurt. Look more carefully at the DNA aligning codes, please. Look more carefully at this concept, you will find deception at its core. I now will back off, but thank you. Oh, and excuse any blowback that may take place. No, not intentional. So, oof. All right. All right. Yeah. We spoke about that at Spirit Lake as well. I believe it was Leon that spoke about that. It was Brayon, Leon, and Shreya that were there, and Segron, the elder. So some of you were probably surprised I remember all of this. Because I'm in a vibration where I remember those and I wrote them down. So to cap this off, it was a beautiful place, beautiful experience. We're going back in October. Great experience. Forest people were great there. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I know this was a little bit briefer than others, but I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And again, we just wish everybody well and no intention to harm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So to the artist, there's no intention to insult or harm. I want to emphasize this. I know you're going to see it because I'm going to share it. So I'm now closing this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. Thank you very much, everybody, and bye-bye now. And thank you for subscribing to this channel.